Hey boys and girls, here we are at the Daytona 500. Thank you to ABB for getting us in here. We're going to be doing a little talking with some of the different race car drivers and whatnot. Stay tuned, this is going to be a wild ride and a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.
Bringing your team over here. Jim Campbell with Chevrolet, and so Pat Suey's here with me. Pat Suey, come up here, Pat. Leads all of our NASCAR programs on the competition side, both the truck, Xfinity, and the Cup. Last year, for the second consecutive year, this program's won the manufacturers championships in all three series. Finishing up in 2024, we're going to try to do it again in 25. And so we're kicking the season off. But Pat's also been involved in the Blazer EV.R NASCAR prototype. We revealed it here a couple days ago. And so Pat, I want you to walk the team through the vehicle and some of the componentry and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so this is a NASCAR, like Jim said, it's a NASCAR EV.R Blazer SS. It's a kind of a joint development effort as far as the vehicle itself goes between us and NASCAR and their partner Star, who did the electrification part of it. It's got three motors. It's got two in the back that drive the rear wheels through a differential, one in the front that drives the front wheels through a differential, so it's all-wheel drive. It's about 1,300 horsepower total. They're six-phase motors. I want to say it's 480 volts, the system. It's it's basically got the same kind of one-pedal driving that you would find in a street EV, so it uses regenerative braking as part of it. We tested at Kershaw, Carolina Motorsports Park in Kershaw, South Carolina a few weeks ago. It was very cold. We had Justin Allgaier, our 2024 Xfinity Series champion driver, driving this thing. And his impression of it was it's different because in an ICE car, right, he uses the sound of the engine, the sound of the brakes, the sound of the tires, all kind of blend together into a familiar sound for him, and that's what he uses as his cue to know when he's kind of reaching the limit of adhesion, when he's reaching the limit of adhesion for braking, when he needs to shift, and obviously you don't have to shift in this thing. Plus there's no engine heat, so he was freezing, was his main complaint. But the car itself, it's the Cup cars are what we call a next-gen chassis. It's a common center section, front and rear section, suspension components, and as you can imagine, fitting the large battery pack. It's a 78 amp hour battery pack. Fitting a battery pack in, and electric motors front and rear instead of an engine and a transaxle and that stuff, right? The chassis needed some modifications, but fundamentally it's a next-gen Cup chassis. The body style here that you see, the CUV body style, is something that, I think between us OEMs and NASCAR, we kind of see the writing on the wall, right? It's the dominant body style in the marketplace right now. And so NASCAR was looking to do something fresh with this instead of just a rinse and repeat on doing another, sedan or coupe. And so our design staff worked very closely with our aero group and with NASCAR to kind of come up with the fundamental shape. And then each OEM that's going to do one of these will be able to do their own body expression, just like we do in the Cup Series, except a little bit more freedom. The Cup cars, from the cowl to the back of the deck lid, so all the way over the top of the car and down the front cover, are the same. This car, the commonality starts here, kind of ends at about the middle of the passenger compartment there. So we were able to do kind of our own rear half of the greenhouse, and you can see it looks quite a lot like the production Blazer EV SS. So that's about it.
Good.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull the pins on that, and then I'm going to open the door. It's going to get kind of loud here.
This is interesting here. This allows them to compress the spring or decompress the spring depending on how the driver feels. So you undo this, you screw it up and down to tighten that spring if you want a hard ride, or loosen it up depending on what the track is like. This is tuning that's done for the drivers. Okay, so here's your steering rack here. I'm wondering if that's going to be something that's going to be eliminated because weight is a big deal. I don't need an intermediate shaft and whatnot if I'm running steer-by-wire. So this is kind of interesting, but curious as to why they just didn't go the next level, steer-by-wire. Okay. Thank you. Okay, the other thing that there's a double wishbone suspension I forgot to mention. Hey boys and girls, we're here at the Chevy demonstration area. What you were just looking at is Chevy's prototype. This is, again, same sort of a deal, three motors, 2 in the back, 1 in the front, mainly because that's where you want propulsion. The vehicle itself is modified slightly, but this is their prototype, and this kind of stuff is what we're going to probably see in the future. You'll see that in essence they cropped the top a bit, and they've changed it from an aerodynamic standpoint to get probably better traction. That wing is functional, and quite frankly, this looks like what I think is the future. But I think what we really need to do is find out a little bit more about what it is that's in Chevrolet's the back of their mind. This car is, as far as I'm concerned, even if it's a prototype, is ready to go right now. I'm sure that this would be fabulous to watch. Trouble is, of course, that the battery is small. Most of these are running between 70, 80 kilowatt hours, and that's not going to get you from here to China. So I think that swapping might be a good idea. Tell you what, let's go over from what's brand new to what's antique. So in the 50s, Chevrolet and General Motors in general was really, really ahead of the curve from everybody else. They had 60% market share, and everybody wanted to see what General Motors was going to come up with next. The Firebird here, I actually got a chance to see it run. So this was done in 1954. It was shown off for the first time. Earl Harley, I'm not sure which one. He came up with this design, and it was, like I say, revolutionary. Everybody wanted to see everybody wanted to know what was going to happen at Chevrolet next. This thing really blew everybody away, literally. It has a turbine engine and it went wicked fast. And it's styled, basically, this style put into place a styling system for everybody. And it was kind of like aircraft. So if you look at cars just slightly after this, in the 60s especially, you're going to see that they've got fins in the back, making them look like fighter jets. But this was the very first one, and this is what set that trend. Okay, I'm here with CJ. We've talked to him before. He's one of the engineers on this vehicle, and I'm going to do the least amount of talking. We only got 5 minutes with this guy. Tell us everything we need to know about this. And you know what's on our channel because I know you watch.
Yeah. So what you see here is the ABB NASCAR EV prototype. This is the exact car that we spoke about in Chicago. So what we have is NASCAR's first all-wheel drive, fully electric battery vehicle, right? So up front, you'll see right here, we have one of Star's motor, their gearbox, their inverter on the back firewall, and also their DC to DC. This looks very similar to what's in the rear. So 3 motors total and 2 gearboxes. This is a single speed gearbox. So this is a little bit different than what we're also used to working with between the H pattern and then the transaxles that we run in the Cup series. What you see around here, can we walk?
Yeah.
All right, so One of the biggest design challenges with this is a next gen, based off of a next gen chassis. The biggest thing that you have to worry about in terms of design decisions is battery packaging. So what you see here is a 78 kilowatt hour battery that sits on the right hand side of the car. Why that's kind of important, especially in the stock car world, is because we do a lot of oval racing, right? So when looking at weight distribution, that's kind of what you're fighting with the design changes and design decisions that you're going to have to make to build this chassis out. The battery loads from the floor, and it's an integral part of the structural integral part of the actual chassis. The reason why we did that is when we sat down with our OEM partners and we started talking about it, stock car racing is true to itself, and it's very different than any other race series in the world. So having this as a structural integral part of the chassis was important because we do a lot of bumping, we do a lot of wall slaps and things like that. So we needed to ensure that this battery could withstand those types of hits.
How much does the battery weigh?
So the battery on this weighs about 1,000 pounds. So it's pretty substantial, but a lot of that is because we had to kind of make the battery encasing bulletproof. This is a pretty thick shell that's actually protecting the battery itself.
So it's carbon fiber. How thick would be the 3 mils?
Yeah. So this encasing is where the main fuse is. This is different. So this is about 1.5 inches thick. Yep. So it's pretty stout. But again, the type of racing that we do, we needed something that could withstand the types of hits that cars take out there on track any given Sunday.
So when you're flying around in this thing, if I've got 1,000 pounds on this side, so which is the inboard outboard side? So which would be the light side?
Yeah. So this is the right side is going to be the heavier side, but that is going to be the most load-bearing side. So essentially what ends up happening is we had to offset some way. So if we go back to the front, there are small things that we've done.
We gotta have the car go out there, so no touch.
Yeah. So we've done small things. So the reason why the motor is on the left-hand side of the car is to offset the battery weight. So we also have the driver on the left-hand side of the car, which is also going to help offset that weight. There's a few things we can do geometry setup-wise to get a little bit better balance. But all in all, we were able to get a 50-50 split in this car, weight distribution-wise, from left to right. So it ends up being like 49.875, I believe, is what we got it to on the left-hand side of the car without the driver. So it was important for us to be able to stay true to what we do in oval racing and have a car to be able to do that, but also have a car that's all fully electric to be able to do that, right? But battery packaging was probably our biggest hurdle in terms of how is it done, right? And those decisions are very important early on because that you build around that, right?
So can you talk a little bit about the the nuts here for compression, for changing the compression on the springs so you can balance it out for racing?
Oh yeah. So if you're talking about the damper. Yeah. So what you have is your high speed and low speed valve. So that essentially tells you, all right, at some of those like quicker wheel hop stuff and things, you're able to adjust that to kind of the track driver preference, right? So we're able to turn those to give the driver the feel that he wants or she wants. And the biggest thing for those is we usually do a lot of damper runs prior to, so that we can get to track and just roll out and don't have to make too many adjustments outside of a couple of rounds in or out to give them a little bit more adjustability.
So a little stiffness or looseness or whatever. So what else can you tell us? Why don't we go around to the driver's side here? So what can you point out here that we should, our readers, our guys need to know?
Yep. So honestly, the biggest thing is with an electric powertrain, tunability is the best thing that you can do, right? So unlike other instances in terms of like maybe suspension or things like that, it's as easy as a couple of clicks on the keyboard to be able to tune the powertrain to what the driver wants instead of turning the high speed adjuster or the low speed adjuster or taking rounds in and rounds out, they can plug in and they can give the driver exactly what he wants. So when you're looking at the steering wheel, right, we have the drive map and the torque map. So what these do are they give the driver the ability to adjust regen and power map settings at a dial, right? So if the driver says, okay, hey, I'm getting a little too much on regen, regenerative braking, then he can say, all right, we'll step it down. So we'll step it down to 7, which steps it off back a little bit to allow him to adjust with the car and the car to adjust with him, with David Reagan. So same thing with the torque map. All right, well, I feel like I need a little bit more power to the rear. The split is X, Y. I want it to be Y, X, right? So it's the same thing. The driver, whoever's in the car, is able to tune this torque map to what they want. And that's a great thing about this battery electric vehicle is the tunability of the powertrain in a matter of minutes.
This is what I want to know about. That looks like a rocket ship and a button, and I gotta know about that.
Yep. Everybody wants to know about the rocket ship. Our partner ABB, Chris Shigas, loves the rocket ship in what we do. So the rocket ship has a background in rally. So these were for launches. So rockets launch. So essentially what it would do is would give driver instantaneous power to the wheels and launch off like a rally start. Another one that all of our fans love and Chris Shigas over at ABB also loves is the burnout button, which also allows the driver to immediately hammer. It's a different power setting and will allow him to smoke the rears. The rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, going back to that tunability aspect, because it's an electric powertrain, we can turn off all wheel drive to rear wheel drive if the driver wants that fill. Or if we're doing stuff, working with Ryan Turk, he's used to rear wheel drive. So that's what he started out with, was rear wheel drive. But
Okay, good.
that's all I have, guys.
Okay,
I'm
great.
so sorry.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, CJ.
No
This
problem.
has been great. Thank you.
No,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Yeah. Okay, hi, boys and girls. Here we are again. I'm with Richard. Thank you very much for the interview. Richard's with Ford, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what it is that Ford's doing, especially with the Mach-E. But then I'm going to shift gears and ask about the F-150 Lightning, because quite frankly, NASCAR is okay, cars, but you also have the ability to race trucks. So with that, what can you tell us about what the future looks like for Ford and NASCAR?
Yeah, well, for Ford and NASCAR, I mean, obviously we have the Cup race going on today, the Daytona 500. So, we're heavily invested in that. We're going to continue to try and win races there and win championships there. But with this partnership with ABB and NASCAR, we're trying to bridge that, space with the EV side, with everything that we've done previously in the last 4 years with Cobra Jet, Super Cobra Jet, Mach-E 1400, both NHRA and up Pikes Peak, Super Truck, Super Van 4.0, 4.2. All of those demonstrators, just trying to maximize our potential in the EV space and trying to learn and find out what is possible. We've been on the cutting edge of racing and motorsports since 1901, and we want to continue that with EV.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan. Our company has an F-150 Lightning. We've torn apart all your vehicles. So at one time or another, though, I was just kind of like wondering. So we hear a lot about, but it doesn't make noise and things like that. What do you think the possibilities might be of not just a pure electric, but some sort of a hybrid that could get out there, and for those guys that want to hear noise, put a 4-banger in it and just have the pipes come straight out of the top, and that would be. So what do you think might be happening there?
Everything's a possibility, right? And with the way things are going in production cars and in racing, there's certainly a lot of different avenues. So there's a lot of different opportunities for that kind of stuff. I think NASCAR is the big horsepower V8s is ingrained in the DNA, but certainly with a lot of the possibilities in the new technology, a different engine architecture is possible, maybe a different type of series or a change in a series or something like that. So I think it's definitely possible. I don't know, what the horizon is for a change like that. It would certainly be a very significant one, like we went through with next gen from the old Gen 6 car, but it's certainly a possibility. But for Ford, we're invested in NASCAR, and we're going to continue to try and do everything we can there with our internal combustion stuff.
So let me shift gears then and go back again and say, What about the Lightning as a NASCAR vehicle?
I mean, it's certainly an interesting concept. You know, we race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah.
You know, the EV space is really, we're just scratching the surface with everything we're doing, and the partnership with ABB and NASCAR with this NASCAR electric vehicle and our Ford Mach-E prototype, it's just, like I said, scratching the surface. So kind of sky's the limit. I don't know really where we're going to go. You know, I think everybody's just still trying to learn what the fans want, what we can do from a venue and a show standpoint, and from an entertainment perspective. You know, for me, it's more about the tech transfer and trying to find different ways to make things more efficient and find ways to go set new records on things that are cool, like Pikes Peak.
Well, Pikes Peak was a giant win for you guys, and I'm sure you could have even done it faster. There was a little problem there along the line. Yeah.
Yeah. You always have those when you go after something with something new. Like there's always those engineering challenges.
But it still beat everybody else. Nobody comes close. So at the end of the day, I'm just kind of curious as to what you think might be the next big conquest for Ford.
Well, I think the next big thing that we've announced is LMDH, going back there to Le Mans, trying to win that in a couple of years. I think that's our next big focus. But certainly, you know, in the EV space, we're going to continue to do the high performance demonstrators, and then, you know, our focus here today, you know, hopefully with weather permitting, we'll end up in victory lane to the Daytona 500. So that's our focus today. But
that's a pretty good focus. Yeah, I guess that's good. Yeah. So anyway, Richard, I know that your time is short, and thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate it. Okay, so boys and girls, we're here with Ryan. He was the guy that was just drifting a little while ago, and they just swapped out his tires. I was kind of hoping we could get somebody showing us how quick the single nut design works. And believe it or not, I used to race, and we used to have knockoffs.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what I had, and I had spoke wheels on top of it. So at the end of the day, that was one thing I was looking for, and I was happy to see that it's coming back. Makes a lot more sense. So I've got a question for you, and it's kind of one you were just asked. Which one, in your estimation, is the most fun?
Well, we're doing I have a purpose-built drift car, which I'm driving out there, which has over 60 degrees of steering angle. It's made for drifting. We're out here drifting and putting on a show in a pretty small area. So my car is a lot more manageable since it's built for this. But the NASCAR, the ABB NASCAR EV prototype is made to drive on, you know, road racing and circle tracks. So this is a lot more of a challenge, which I like. I like a good challenge. So driving this out there is a lot more difficult to try to put on a nice, smooth, good show for the fans.
Well, I know one thing for sure. The smoke was plentiful.
Yes.
I mean, this is kind of cute, but it looks like I'm back in LA or something.
Yeah. The NASCAR has double the amount, or a little over double the amount of horsepower that my truck has.
Well, a lot of people came up and said, "Oh, see, they can't run those electric cars because the battery ran out. That's why the guy left." I said, "No, the tires left out. They can't take much more." And I watched them scraping the tire off your passenger side rear. Yeah. I couldn't believe how much. In fact, it was over here a while. Maybe they carted it away.
They cleaned
but
it
the
all up,
huge
yeah.
ball of crap.
Yeah.
That does that affect you at all? Or?
Not since we're doing it since we're swapping tires every time and doing scraping every time, it's not that big of a factor. In pro competition, where we have to run consecutively, so you do 2 laps, change tires, go back out. During a 2-hour practice session, you come off, and there's a lot of tire scrape that builds up, so you got to scrape all that off, and it adds a little bit of weight, but as long as it doesn't fall back onto the tread out on the racetrack, you're fine. Yeah. And it gets really sticky and hot, so it usually glues itself to the inner fender wells.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been
drifting or driving
driving race?
prototype?
Like, when did you start driving race cars?
I started driving about 18, 19, and I've always done drifting.
Yeah.
I grew up on 2 wheels and raced motocross for most of my childhood, and then got into cars and drifting was my attraction. So it's been drifting since I was 19. I'm 40 now, so it's been a pretty long road. Yeah.
So when did you start getting into racing itself?
When I was 9. My dad asked my brothers and I if we want to go race some dirt bikes, and we said, "What's racing?" And he brought us to the track to let us find out, and we've been pretty much racing and are involved in some sort of motorsport ever since.
Wow, cool. Well, I got to tell you, I know you're kind of busy and you're probably hotter than blazes in that thing. So anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
To you.
It was great watching you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, boys and girls, here I am with Chris and from ABB, and he and I are at the Daytona 500. We've seen a couple of the drivers. We went down and had a look at the new Chevrolet that's being put out. That's being shown this time, right?
It is more than 1,300 horsepower. Yeah,
1,300 horsepower. But what I really want to know is, what's the image or what's the message that ABB is trying to get across here?
We want to have better conversations about energy, and sometimes when we talk about energy, we talk about electric vehicles, we talk to half the country. We want to talk to the whole country, and not only about transportation, but about electrifying everything and the demand curve that's heading the way, and how do we keep our country strong, right? So if you have a vehicle like this with impressive, innovative technology, to be able to help with energy education, but also inspire, and really so we can look at what are better conversations we can have to talk about energy, to why do energy companies make the decisions they do? Why do automakers make the decisions they do? And this is an impressive piece of technology. So if it inspires people to talk, to learn about regenerative braking, learn about battery storage, then we're really helping the U.S. become stronger.
Well, I know that for me, it was one drive and I was sold. And I've said this like 50 times this trip, but in this kind of an environment, it keeps coming up. I am or was an engine engineer. I had a lot to do with the Vulcan V6, which saved Ford Motor Company. I had a lot to do with Chrysler's Pentastar. They were dead when we took that thing over. V8s, 2 cylinders, monoblocks, we've done it all.
Yeah.
To make the switch in less than an hour, so how do we get people to get into an electric car so they can be sold?
Yeah, well, part of it is going to places we haven't been before, right? And here, make no doubt, we're at the Daytona 500. There's a lot of traditional NASCAR fans who love the roar of an engine, and that of a V8, that's great. But also when they come see this car that looks pretty impressive, and then they start to learn, they ask questions. How fast does it go? What tracks would it be good on? And all of these conversations are what we need to have just so we learn about this technology and how it's moving forward and where we go from here. Here's the good news, Sandy. There's a lot of criticism about an EV. How long does it take to charge? How many miles can it go? The good news is it gets better.
Yeah.
Battery technology improves, it doesn't get worse. We are able to go more miles, not fewer. We are able to charge with less time, not more. So I think it's a real exciting time to be talking about energy. Of course, NASCAR has always believed in stock car racing, right? Yeah. Race it on Sunday, sell it on Monday. So if the automakers choose to want to promote their electric vehicle lineups, NASCAR makes a lot of sense.
And I think that that's what will happen. I personally feel strongly that the market will change as people become more accustomed, like I said, maybe through these events. Maybe if you're just, hey, come on, never driven an EV, come on, I will show you around. And talk about range anxiety and all the other, like, batteries don't last long. Yes, they do. I mean, at the end of the day, what we need is more communication. That's what I think.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things of this ABB NASCAR partnership. We're looking at energy education just so we have a better conversation here. So we're talking about, hey, there's myths around and there's a lot of misinformation, but respecting all opinions, I think that's really important. We're here in the heart of NASCAR country, and there's traditional fans who love the combustion engine. That's okay, right? Yeah. What we have is an incredible piece of technology behind us, and you know, if people learn about that, they're curious, they're asking questions, I think that's the right mood for the country.
Yeah, well, again, I'm a big fan of EVs, but I'm also a big fan of hybrids. And as far as I'm concerned, that's like the character puts his toe into the pool. You know, I don't know if I want to jump in just yet, but maybe I'll just see what the temperature is. So I think that there's great potential, and a lot of people are moving toward hybrids that I can actually say, that's worthwhile. I don't think it's a good idea if you slap a V6 and then put a teeny tiny battery in it and call it a hybrid. That's crap. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, well, those are the decisions the automakers will make. You know, I think the good news here is if you look at our country, we have a grid. It's distributed, right? So there's electricity wherever there's civilization. Yeah. And so it's just a matter of getting us to the point where people feel comfortable. Range anxiety is still an issue. I've been an EV driver for 5 years. I have no range anxiety.
Well, I 100% agree with you. And Chris, thank you so much for the time today. And I have no idea whose hat this is, but whoever it is,
it's yours now.
It's mine now. Exactly right. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching.